Welcome to the Widowed Mom Podcast, episode 304, The Power of Small Wins in Grief.
Welcome to the Widowed Mom Podcast, the only podcast that offers a proven process to help you work through your grief, to grow, evolve, and create a future you can truly look forward to. Here's your host, Master Certified Life Coach, Grief Expert, Widow, and Mom, Krista St-Germain.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of the podcast. So by the time this releases, I will be back from my trip to Italy, but I have to record this before I go to Italy because deadlines. So I'm still in the middle of getting ready and packing and hoping the weather will be good, and super excited that I get to see my friend who lives near Venice. She's going to be coming to see me, so I'm very excited about that. So that is what's happening on my world. I want to also let you know about Grief Essentials. It is not too late to join. We start April 1st. Grief Essentials is my 8-week program for those who want to make early grief easier. And early bird pricing is just about over, so now is the time. If you are interested to join, you can go to coachingwithkrista.com/grief essentials, and you don't have to wait to get the good stuff until April 1st. The sooner you join, the sooner you start getting support. We will be sending a powerful workshop straight to your inbox every week from the moment you join to the moment Grief Essentials starts. So that means grief can start getting easier now. It won't get easy, but it will get easier. I know that that is true. So coachingwithkrista.com/grief essentials. Okay, let's talk about the power of small wins. Maybe small wins don't seem like a big deal to you, but I promise you that they are. The little things that you do every day that your brain probably tells you don't count actually do count. I have had, I will say, a very draining and overwhelming last couple of weeks. There have been moments where I have been just not as productive as I would normally. And several times during these last couple of weeks, my brain has told me that I wasn't doing enough and that I should be doing more. But fortunately, I'm onto my brain and I know enough to zoom out and look at the total picture, right? And look at, what am I actually really doing? Sure, I could always do more. Sure, I want to do more. But the truth is that sometimes we're not as productive as we ordinarily are. And when I'm being really honest with myself, the things that I did do were the things that mattered. I showed up for my clients. I supported my family, my kids. I took care of myself in the small ways. All of that matters. It may seem small in the moment relative to what we want to accomplish or what we're used to being able to accomplish, but it still matters. And I'm guessing that you feel this way too, that if you're not making huge progress, if you're not like you were before the loss, that somehow the wins don't count. But I want you to know that they do. Every little win counts. And let's think about the brain science behind this, right? Our brain is wired for survival. It is very focused on what's wrong, what's not happening, what could kill us, right? It is not really designed to focus on what's going well and where the progress is happening, the wins. And so if we want our brain to show us the wins, which I promise you are there if you look, we have to ask it to do that explicitly. In Mom Goes On, we do this a lot. We start most of our calls actually celebrating wins. It's not even about the wins. It's about the celebrating. It's about the noticing. It's about training our brain to find more of what we're searching for. And small wins build confidence. Small wins create momentum. I want you to think about, especially if you have a child or had a child, right? When your child took their first little wobbly step, you didn't say, well, that wasn't a full lap around the living room, so it doesn't count, right? You celebrated every little movement with great enthusiasm. But as adults, we kind of stopped doing that for ourselves. And so I want to encourage us to really think about, why not? Why not celebrate ourselves? And sometimes where this can be noticed is when it feels like maybe we're stuck in grief. Maybe it feels like nothing's changing. Maybe we're in a routine or a pattern and it's not really getting any worse, but it's not really getting any better. Or maybe it's just absolutely awful and we can barely focus or function at all. Right? It can happen in so many different ways. Maybe we're struggling with our energy or our motivation. Maybe we're feeling down on ourselves. Maybe we're not feeling optimistic about the future. All very normal things in grief. Maybe it just feels like everything is so overwhelming and we're never going to get to the bottom of the to-do list. So understandable. And so small wins are important. It's not about making massive changes overnight. It's about starting to trust yourself, starting to be kind to yourself, one little win at a time. So let me give you some examples, some real life examples of small wins that might help you start choosing where you could be celebrating yourself. So let's think about emotional wins. Maybe your normal habit is to push away your tears and you actually let yourself cry instead. Maybe your normal habit is to avoid your feelings with food or with alcohol or with social media or with shopping, right? But you let yourself feel something instead. Maybe your normal response is to kind of be mean to yourself when you're having a tough day. And instead, you responded to yourself with some self-compassion. Those are wins. Maybe getting out of bed was hard this morning and you did it. Maybe you cooked a meal when you otherwise might have skipped it. Maybe you made a phone call that you were really dreading, but you did it anyway. Those are wins. Socially, maybe a friend texted you and you texted them back. And that feels like a win. Sometimes it is. Maybe you asked for help when you needed it. And maybe that's not your habit. Maybe it was uncomfortable for you to do that. Maybe you said yes when someone offered to help you. And maybe that felt uncomfortable, but you did it. Maybe you said no to a request that you weren't interested in instead of shooting yourself into saying yes. That is a win. Maybe you started thinking about what you want next in life, even if you're not ready to act on it. When you have lost your person, allowing yourself to think about what you want next in life, even if it's just for a second, contemplating that you could dream again, is a win. Maybe you signed up for something new and it felt scary, but you did it anyway. All of these are examples of wins. The little wins count. And I want to encourage you to maybe think of your wins differently. If your brain is inclined to say, well, I only did this one thing, right? It's one thing. I did it. I guess that's a win, but I only did this one thing. Then maybe it's, this is the thing I did today. That's one thing I did today, right? Small wins compound over time. Before you know it, they add up to big changes. And before you know it, you have trained your brain to look for more of what you want to see, which are the wins. I want to encourage you to make this a habit. This is why we do it so much in Mom Goes On. But maybe you keep a wins list. I don't do it anymore because it feels like a habit that I don't have to work so hard on, but I used to keep a very tiny little journal, one of those, I'm actually looking at it, it's on my bookshelf over there, maybe like a 3x5 size notebook, very small. Moleskine, that's the brand, I remember now. And I would write down all of my wins in that little journal, just here and there, right? Maybe not all of them, but the little things. And I made it a habit to write those wins down. And you can say it out loud. Instead of just writing it down, what if you said it out loud? You notice a win and you say it. That was a win. I did that. Good job, me. I'm so proud of you. I love you. This is how I talk to you on the podcast. This is how I want you to talk to yourself. Celebrate your wins like you would celebrate a friend's wins, right? If your friend told you that they got out of bed and showered after a hard day when they didn't want to get up, after their world had just exploded, you would not say, meh, right? So what? You're supposed to do that. You would say, amazing. I'm so proud of you. It's so hard. You're doing such a good job. Give yourself the same kindness. And bonus points for sharing your wins. Can you share your wins with friends? Can you share your wins in a group that you're in? Can you work with a coach and share your wins? Can you share them in a grief group? Say them out loud, write them down, share them, celebrate yourself like you would celebrate a friend. All right? Listen, you are doing better than your brain is giving you credit for. I know this to be true. I would bet money on it. Your small wins matter more than you think they do, and they add up, and I want you to start noticing them. So, a little challenge for you today, before you go to bed. I want you to find one small win from your day. Say it out loud, write it down, tell a friend, pick one. The more you do this, the more you'll see how much progress you are making. All right? And if you want more support in learning how to love life again, you can go to coachingwithkrista.com, click on the Work With Me tab, and you can apply for a spot in Mom Goes On, which is my flagship program for people who are really wanting to love life again. They're past the early stages of grief, right? That's what Mom Goes On is for. We don't need to make early grief easier because we're surviving early grief, but we want to love life again. That's what Mom Goes On is for. If early grief is still really hard for you, then please come to Grief Essentials, coachingwithkrista.com/grief essentials. All right? that's what I have for you this week. Remember, I love you. You've got this. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. If you like what you've been hearing on this podcast and want to create a future you can truly get excited about even after the loss of your spouse, I invite you to join my Mom Goes On coaching program. It's small group coaching just for widowed moms like you, where I'll help you figure out what's holding you back and give you the tools and support you need so you can move forward with confidence. Please don't settle for a new normal that's less than what you deserve. Go to coachingwithkrista.com and click Work With Me for details and next steps. I can't wait to meet you.